Hi, I'm Jonathan Ogle. Our next Spectrum of the Arts show takes you to a special training session for K-12 art teachers. Julie Levesque provides the instruction for classroom teachers who can use the device to improve their classroom performance.
iCloud is Apple's way of connecting all of your devices. There's also a storage option in iCloud where you can have things backed up from your iPad to your other devices and also to the cloud. And that's why we put in our Apple ID, and you should only have one Apple ID that's connecting all your devices together. You do have an app store on your iPad. I'm probably skipping forward to this, but you do have an app store on your iPad, so feel free to purchase any free apps you want, but if it's an app that costs money, then let me know, and I'll try to get it for you. Okay, so this is how Jonathan recommends that you set up your iCloud so that none of your personal information, this is so your calendars will sync and you can check your calendars on here. But if you don't want that, you can turn the calendars off. You can turn off as much of this as you want to turn off. Okay, so whatever you don't want syncing across your devices, you can go ahead and turn that off under that iCloud settings. Then we do want down here under Find My iPad, tap on that. It should already be on, but we want it to send last location. That way if you lose your iPad and it runs out of batteries, it'll tell Find My iPad where it was when it ran out of batteries. There's some apps on here that we delete, like the House app, that you can delete the Tips app. So if you want to delete an app, I think I just did this, so I don't have any to delete. If you want to delete an app, you hold your finger down on the app and it's going to wiggle around and give you a little X. And then you can press that little X and it'll delete the app.
So what ones do we want to delete? News, like news?
Yeah, I delete home because that's like how to control your air conditioning and all that. I delete, there's a TV one I think I delete. And you can leave them all on there and do all this later. And then if you want to move apps, you hold your finger down on the app until it starts to wiggle. And then you just keep your finger on it and just slide it wherever you want. So,
what if I accidentally deleted pages? How do I get back?
You have to go to the App Store. I'll show you that. Since she asked that, I'll go ahead and show you guys that. If you accidentally delete something, and you might not ever even use Pages, Marcia. You might want to wait and see. If you delete something, you go into the App Store, and then up at the top is a little person silhouette, and you tap on that. And then you go to Purchased, and then that's all the apps that are on your iPad. And it should be under there. Pages should be under there, and you should be able to hit the little cloud and re-download it. I don't need it. I don't use Find Friends. I'm not going to tell you to delete it if you might want to use it, but okay. So you can make folders by if you take two icons and you drag the one icon on top of another. So I'll just do these two. If I take my Pinterest and I drag it up here on top of Davis, it makes a folder. It names the folder for you. It just thought that was socials. So if you don't like the name of the folder, then you hold your finger down until it wiggles again and then tap it. And then that'll give you the title and you can X that out and call it whatever you want. Okay, so you can organize your folders I keep mine really simple. I'm not one for, well, let me tell you this while I'm thinking about it. Then to bust up a folder, if you decide you don't want that folder anymore, again, you get everything wiggling, tap the folder, just take the app and drag it out, and that'll dissolve the folder. Okay, to set up a folder, you just take one app and drag it on top of another app. So if I take this Measure app and I drag it on top of iTunes U, it'll just make an education folder. If I don't like the name education, I just tap it. I can X out the name and name it whatever I want to name it. And then tap it, done, and that'll name it that name. And then home button gets everything stop wiggling. And then to dissolve the folder, I hold it down till it's wiggling, tap it, take the apps, drag it out, take the app, drag it out.
Once you have the folder, can you just drag them into the folder?
Yep, once you have the folder, you can just drag things in. You can go, if you're on another page and you need to drag, you just drag to the edge, and it'll flip back through the pages. So I just have mine, art making, I have utilities for like, so here's all my art making apps I have in there. I have utilities, I have the AirWatch things in there, my Find My iPhone, you know, things that I only use occasionally, but I do need access to. I have entertainment if I'm traveling with my iPad on a plane, I like to watch a movie or something like that, you can do that. And then productivity are all my my Microsoft apps and my apps that are native to the iPad. So that's just how my folders are set up. And I'm a little lazy about it, so I got a lot of stuff floating out there that I need to clean up. Okay, so that's folders. We talked about deleting. Deleting, you just hold it down till it wiggles and press the X. If you accidentally delete it, it's in the App Store under your account, under Purchased. Okay, the iPad has something called a control panel. To get to the control panel, it's a little tricky if you've never done it before, but you just take your finger and you slide down from the upper right-hand corner like this, and then it should pop down. So everybody try that and see if you can get your control panel to pop down. Okay, and then you have all these things on your control panel right now. Mine's set up for airplane mode. That top right icon is Airdrop. If you press and hold that Airdrop, I think it toggles between something else. No, I guess not. So I have airplane mode, I have Airdrop, I have Wi-Fi, I have Bluetooth. Those are things that you'd want to get to quickly. If you're playing music, you can fast forward, back, or reverse or play from this control panel. You can lock the orientation with this icon. You can put it in sleep mode. If you're a baby like me and you go to bed at 9 o'clock and you don't want anybody to bother you, you can set it so you won't get any notifications after 9 o'clock. This is your brightness, your volume. I've never used this, but I'm assuming that's some sort of notifications, a quick shortcut to get to notifications to say what you want to notify. I guess I've never learned use any of these. Yeah, timer, right? This is customizable. So you can take those things off if you're not going to use them a lot, and you can put them back. You can put more things on if you want to. So to customize that panel, you go back into Settings. You go on the left to Control Center. Okay, it's right under General. And then you go to Customize Controls. And then you can take off whatever you don't want on the control panel, and you can add additional things on the control panel that you might want to use. So your iPad has 3 ways of turning it on and off. The first way is just the power button here. That just turns it off, or that actually just puts it to sleep. If you want to turn it off so it's not using battery power, then you hold the power button down until the power slider appears and you slide it. That's turning it off. So if I ask you to restart it, you have to slide that off, wait a few seconds, and then hold the power button down until the apple appears to restart it. If your iPad ever freezes for any reason, or I tell you try a hard restart is where you hold the power button down and the home button down at the same time until the screen blacks out and the apple reappears. Okay, so those are the 3 different ways of powering on and off your iPad. If you ever lose your iPhone or your iPad, obviously contact us first, but then you can go to, I think you can put in, I'm just going to go to iCloud. But I think you can also do ilostmyipad.com or something, and it will take you there. But if you go to iCloud.com and you sign in with your Apple ID, you go in here to Find My iPhone, and then this will show all the devices on your account. This is another reason why we want you to use your Apple ID. If you use a school's Apple ID, then you have all of those school devices on here as well. So this takes a minute sometimes for the GPS to find everything, but it should show all 3. It should show 3 dots here at the school board building that my 3 devices are here. Okay, so if one of those dots is over there and you don't know who's got it, you have a couple options. You can click on the dot, you can click on information, and then this will give you options. And I'm not going to play this sound because I'm not sure how to turn it off, and I don't want to deal with that. But if you just lose your phone in the house or in your car or whatever, you can press that button. It plays a very, very loud sound, or if you lose it in your classroom. Then you can also put it in lost mode, which locks it so nobody can use it. And if you're really sure it's lost and you're afraid it's on its way to China, you can erase your whole device, all through Find My iPhone. So those are your three options there of actions that you can do. Okay. All right. iOS backups and app updates, very important. Honestly, 90% of the problems that we are presented with here in the tech department have to do with people not updating things when they should. So to update your iOS, I would actually set this on automatically update for your iOS. I can't think of a reason why you wouldn't do that. So if you go back into your settings, you're going to know where the settings are after this is all over. Utilities, settings, and you go to General, Software Update. That's on the right towards the top. And then there's Automatic Updates button, and I suggest that you turn that on. Then at night when you're not using it, your iPad will just automatically update to the most recent version of your iOS. And right, when it has power. And that's important because Apple's always putting out little security updates, little tweaks that are going to make things run better. They update for a reason, so that's, you should be doing that as well. To update apps, you go to the App Store. And down at the bottom here, you'll see an update, and that gives you a little red badge of how many apps you need to update. I only update apps that I use frequently because every time you update an app, it adds more data onto your iPad that you might not need. It is your responsibility. If you lose your iPad, you have to fill out a report for risk management, and if they determine that you were negligent in some way, you left it laying in the bathroom at the FAEA conference like I did one time. And someone turned it in, yes. So, but if they do find that you were negligent, then you will be responsible for the cost of it. So just make sure it's, you know where it is and it's locked up and it's safe. To clean the screen, you can use any lint-free cloth. Any kind of nylon shirt like this will work well. The eyeglass, little nylon eyeglass cleaners that they give you when you get new glasses will work. You can also buy these tech wipes. We keep these in the office, and they're just like little wet wipes designed for technology. So that's another option for keeping your screen clean. If you have an issue with your iPad, we'll ask you to put in a tech ticket. If it's something simple like, I forgot how to delete an app, you can send me an email. But if something's malfunctioning, then you really should put in a tech help ticket. If you're asking yourself, I don't know whether I should put in a tech help ticket for this or not, or I don't know if I'm going to put in a tech help ticket for this or not, then just put in a tech help ticket. It just makes it easier for us. It notifies Brian that you have a problem. It gives us a way to communicate where everybody can see the communication, and I think it gets things repaired and fixed more quickly. The App Store is just the App Store. That's where you go and buy apps. The App Catalog is a listing of apps that we have pushed out to your iPad. So while you guys are at lunch, I'm going to add all your iPads to a group, and then it's going to automatically push out a bunch of apps. All of those apps that I push out, if they get deleted somehow, or they're not functioning properly, you can delete them off and then go into the app catalog and re-download them from there. So you shouldn't have much of anything in there at this point. But whatever's in the app catalog is what's been sent out automatically to your iPad. Find My iPhone is free. How do you get to it? By going to iCloud.com, okay? Yep. And then those are the 3 things that you can do. I showed you how to get to those in the actual app. Okay, so you will have all of the Microsoft Office apps on your iPad. To download them properly, you sign into O365, like where you would go for webmail. And then there's a little waffle in the upper left-hand corner. And when you go to the little waffle, it's going to take you to where all the apps are. And over to the right, there's a little link that says download apps. And then you would go to that, and then it would download them all on your iPad. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the different kinds of apps that you can use on the iPad. You know, you're going to find that you're going to use this for a lot of your regular daily tasks, but the key is trying to figure out what apps can be used for what tasks, what's out there, what can you use, and then force yourself to use the app. Okay, so here's some of the apps that you can get on your iPad. All the Microsoft Office apps, Word, PowerPoint, Stream, OneDrive, where Stream is where we put all the videos that we make in the visual arts department. There should be a little shortcut to Stream, which is a website. When you hit that shortcut on your iPad, it takes you to Stream. If you search hashtag visual arts, it's all one word, no spaces if you're old like me. And that will take you, will list out every single video that we've ever made and put in Stream. So even if it's not linked in the VAT, it is in Stream. And then OneDrive will give you access. You have unlimited storage through Pinellas County in O365, which is Microsoft's cloud system, O365. And from your iPad, you can install the app OneDrive, or actually it'll automatically install after lunch. And then when you press on OneDrive, that takes you to all of the files that you have saved in that folder from your Mac. So you can, if you worked on a lesson plan at school, you can leave your Mac at school, you can go home, you can access this from here. You have the Microsoft apps on here, so you can do basically everything that you could do from your Mac, you could do from your iPad. iMovies, you can use iMovie for movie making, to make instructional videos. I spent all day yesterday in a workshop teaching how to make instructional videos with a teacher who makes an instructional video for every single lesson. And she has a huge library, which is linked in the VAT. Her name is Judith Woodward, Woodward. And if you search Woodward in the VAT, you'll see the link to her Facebook page, YouTube page, and where she has all of those videos listed, all the ones she's ever made. So it's a great resource if you want to try to start making your own videos, but it's also a great resource to just use those videos for a substitute, or if it's a lesson that it looks intriguing to you, teach it. Teach that lesson just how she made it. One of my favorite things to use the iPad for is note-taking and keeping myself organized. So as we have the VAT, the Visual Art Teacher's Notebook, in addition to the VAT, you can make your own notebook. So I have a lot of notebooks in my OneNote app. I have my personal notebook. I have one for the art department, and then we have our visual art teacher's notebook. But in my notebook, I have meeting notes, and I just sit in the meetings and scribble notes down just like I would if it was in a notebook. When I go to conference, see if I have my one left from conference. When you go to conference or something like that, and you're at a workshop, and you see something in the conference that you like, you can take your iPad right on the page where you were taking notes and take a picture of it. When Jonathan and I were at the conference, we had our iPads tucked away in our bag, and we had our phones, and you can take a picture in the OneNote on your phone, and it shows up on the OneNote on your iPad. Yeah, if it's open. It just goes right in there to the page. So they automatically sync. So I use that a lot. Sometimes when I come out to visit classrooms, I go around their room with my iPad and just take pictures of all the different things that I want to share with other teachers. You know, if they say I'm having trouble trouble with this or that, I'll say, oh, well, I went out and I really love the way they did this. And my thought is to eventually organize these into kind of like a, professional teacher tip of the day or kind of thing. Yeah, pro tips, so you could go in there and look. So you're going to love the Apple Pencil. We'll get to play around with that after lunch to see how it just, you look at my handwriting here, how it looks like, real handwriting. Yeah, so it's regular handwriting. It's not like any kind of stylus that you've ever used.
I definitely think it's going to help me, and I think it's going to help me stay more organized. I can take little notes on things that will work better for the next class maybe in OneNote, and be able to reflect on that instead of like having little pieces of paper all over.
This has been a great experience for me, and to be able to have that, because I don't have a tool like that now, to be able to have that and grow as a teacher and as an artist is something that's very valuable. Especially in our world, it's so techy right now, and that's where our minds are going. Our minds are on the computer. Yes, it's so basic. It's important to have those basic tools, but then to take that basic information and knowledge of the arts and put it into digital is something that's it's advanced now, and that's where the world is at.
iMovie. Art Rage is great for demonstrating art making techniques. Art Rage works exactly like art materials. If you put down a bunch of red dots on your paper in watercolor and you paint over it with yellow, it blends it and bleeds it just like it would on a piece of paper. So you can even use that to demonstrate a theoretic technique and not even have to get out the art materials. Pixelmator is what I said I added on there that's similar to Photoshop. I know zero about it. It's a middle school program, but I figured when I was reading about great art apps to add onto your iPads, I figured everybody wants something that's like Photoshop. That's as close as you can get. And it was a paid app, so I think you're going to enjoy having that on there. Artsonia, I'll talk about that if we have time later, just kind of show you how that works. But I'm getting more and more enamored with Artsonia. I used to have my students, after they finished an artwork, they would say, oh, I'm done now, what do I do next? And I just had a poster up there that said, write your artist statement. They had to write that on the back. Now you can write it right in Artsonia. And then they would get an iPad out of the cart, and they would take their artwork and photograph it. And now it's all of a sudden on my iPad. And I can go home that night and grade from my iPad. They crop it. I can download that artwork for an art show. You can download a high-res image, and they don't need any permissions to do that. All of our students have internet permission forms. Even if it's not marked in focus, they have to have an internet permission form in order to take a test online. So if you have any doubts, go to your DMT in your office and say, I've got this student, or I want to use this with the students, can you check to make sure everybody has an internet usage form? And that's all you need for them to be able to upload their artwork, and it won't show online. Now, the part about showing online is a different matter altogether. That's where you do need permissions, but you can use this as a portfolio. You can use Artsonia as a portfolio tool, and you don't have to have any permissions except that internet permission form, which every student should have unless they're a Mormon or something like that, and they're not allowed to use technology. And there are a few students in the county, but it would be rare that you would have one in your classroom. You're also going to be able to have your calendar on your iPad, and your mail should already be on there. We checked that. And these should sync with your Mac. So whatever you put in the calendar or the mail on your Mac should be going to your iPad. I also have my personal calendar so that if I put something on my personal calendar, it also backs up to that so that people in the art office can see that I have a doctor's appointment. Notes, I depend really strongly on notes. I use notes to make notes about who needs what apps. I have notes I have recipes, I have directions for a project before I'm ready to write it down into a lesson plan. And those notes sync between all my devices. So if I'm in the car and I want to add something to the notes, it shows up on here, it shows up on my computer. I can tell Siri to set a reminder for me. You can even tell Siri to set a reminder to check the mail when you get home. And it uses the GPS, it knows when you get home, and it sends you that reminder as soon as you get home. So we're just saying, use the obvious. Try out OneNote. You have no excuse. Back in the day when they had the stylus, or you had to take notes with your finger, then that was definitely an excuse not to use it, but there's just no excuse not to use it. The pencil, when you plug it in, like I'll go into a meeting and I'll realize my pencil isn't working, I'll plug it in, and by the time Sue finishes like introducing what we're going to do in the meeting, it's charged. So if I go on my computer, on my Mac, to Airdrop, and I go down here to the bottom, there's a little part that says allow me to be discovered by everyone. That means every single one of you, when you go to Airdrop, you're going to see my Mac as an option to send something to. Okay, so if I go on my device and I go into Photos and I tap on my photo and I tap the share symbol or the upload symbol, that little paper with an up arrow, I get a lot of choices of how I want to share my photo. One of those choices says Julie's MacBook Pro. So that I'm going to press that and it'll go right up to my Mac straight away. It also has anybody else on here that has their AirDrop turned on. So for one thing, if I had AirDrop on my student iPads, I would turn off receiving on all the iPads. I would tell my students, if I see your name pop up there, then I know that you turned receiving off and you just lost the iPad. So there is a way to monitor the students that whether they have the receiving on their iPads. They have no reason to have receiving on because all they need to do is send. Okay? So make sure if you're using AirDrop that the students' devices have receiving off. So on my iPad, I'm going to choose my Mac. People are like, oh no, I don't want to be discovered by everyone because they could just send me things. They can send you things, but you have to accept.
In my classroom, because kids are so tech savvy, the low tech of actually creating artwork is boring to them. So if you add those elements of technology into it, it makes it more relevant for them. So if I look like an expert on the iPad, and also, you know, can you teach me some things that you know, it makes the whole classroom much more relevant.
I'm so happy that Pinellas gives us this opportunity to have these things and for the children as well. There is no district that I've been to yet that has the resources and that referendum money that is so important for us to have because it gives so much to the teachers and so much to the students.
The pencil thing, I know for sure I'm going to be able to do something with demonstrations that I had to do manually on my whiteboard because my Elmo's a little bit older. So I know that's going to help me immediately. And just being a lot more versed in what's actually on this iPad is going to help me to be a stronger teacher. It's fun when they can teach me things because they feel like they're powerful. But they also recognize when I don't know what I'm doing. So knowing what I'm doing is really important. Because they're so easily distracted, and there are kids in there who need a drum beat. There are kids in there who, their mind works so much quicker than mine. I'm accustomed as an artist, slowing my roll. You know, I don't rush through anything, and when I do, I make, not very good quality artwork. So I'm trying to teach them to slow that roll. And if they're watching a movie that I made demonstrating what I'm doing, and I'm walking around to see if they are chit-chatting with each other or they're actually focused on this, or I'm right near them when they say, what was that you just did? Now I know I can go back later and review that video, but that kid needs that question now because I know it. When I'm at a presentation, if something is misspelled, I'm now thinking about that and I've missed a couple minutes of the video. So I'm right there for what they're doing, what they need to know now, and also to keep them from going off task.